What are these contestations? Where are these contestations? Let me come and discuss about what do you mean about identity. Identity has been a social culture and political problem from the very beginning. Identity, social culture in a way that you construct that you Bengali and Gujarati and Marathi and Hindu and Muslim. So the religious identity, ethnic identity, lingual identity, regional identity, that had been a social culture to consolidate yourself. But it has become a political problem, keeping the complex and homogeneity of this region. Because there are complex interdependencies among the states, being part of common ecological organic system, being part of common civilization, having common cultural affinities, racial affinities, and lingual similarities. This construct of this social culture now further had generated political problems among the South Asian countries. What are the two? Basically, there were two important ideas and the concepts to understand the identity, and where are the constructions. In fact, from the very beginning, I would focus only 2 points. One point is that identity among the states or between the states or within the states are constructed on two approaches or two formulas. One is that if there is crisis of success. If there is a crisis of success, then a different kind of state would come into existence. And if there is crisis of failure, then there would be another kind of state would come into existence. If you will see India, you can see what was the notion of nation, that India, and what was the vision of the vision of India in the minds of the visionary leaders, the freedom fighters, from Raja Ram Mohan Rai to Dayanand Saraswati to Bhimrao Ambedkar to Jyotiba Phule, Jawaharlal Nehru, Mahatma Gandhi, all that. What kind of India they were looking? They were looking that India would be the notion of nation would be based on the principles and ethos of unity in diversity, that you recognize the diversity from the very beginning. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, that I'm proud to be Gujarati, but I'm Indian. That kind of inclusive identity, that inclusiveness in the identity had been institutionalized, or you can say had been mobilized over the years by different visionary leaders, from Raja Ram Mohan Rai to Gokhale to Ranade to Mahatma Gandhi. And that has been mobilized by different movements. Particularly, you can say that in 1905, Bengal was the partisan in East Bengal and the West Bengal. And this partisan of Bengal, you can say, was they were trying to bring this parties as a communal along the communal line. If I read this, the Karjan's speech on 18th February 1904, the Karjan's partisan of Bengal, like this is the text of his speech, that the partisan would make Dhaka the center and possibly the capital of a new self-sufficing administration, which must give to the people of these districts by regions of their numerical strength and their superior culture the preparating voice in the province so created, which would invest the Mohammedans in eastern Bengal with a unity which they had since the days of old Mussalman viceroys and kings. Of Lord Karjan is a clear-cut manifestations of divide and rule policy. If you read, then Amrit Bajar Patrika has categorically quoted that this is the divide and rule policy of the Britishers. Even the Bengali has also quoted that this is the manifestations of the British policy to weaken the national movement. But if you really go with the text of this speech, you will see that the partisan between East Bengal and West Bengal are along the they are giving the excuse of development and administrations, but this partisan was along the religious line, that the East Bengal is dominated by the Muslims, and this has been the land of the old Musliman viceroys and king. They had been superiority in comparison to West Bengal. This partisan had given a sense of territoriality in the minds of the Muslim community, that the East Bengal is dominated by the Muslims and West Bengal. So my point is that the partisan of Bengal was was a manifestations of giving a territoriality among Hindus and Muslims. The visionary leader of India, the then visionary leader of India, they have rejected this kind of constructs. They said, no, we are not. You can't divide Bengal on along these lines. You cannot give the territoriality, and that has been rejected. And Britishers, they had to withdraw the partition of Bengal in 1911. So my point is there by different mobilizations, different movement, from movement of against Bangabhang, or you can say that non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, Quit India movement, Pune Pact, all that. Those are the examples where it has been mobilized that we are all Indians. We have diversity, we have lingual diversities, we have cultural diversity, we have ethnic diversity, we have religious diversities, but we are all Indian. And that was the notion of nation, that was based on unity in diversity, that was based on inclusive ethos of nationalism. Point was there that they were aware that you want to become successful. If you want to fight against the Britishers, you have to be united, because there were crisis of success, that you wanted to become successful. You had advanced the notion that there is unity in diversity. We recognize diversity, but we are all Indian. So you wanted to become successful. You united yourself along the gender, racial, lingual, all the lines, and you fought against the Britishers, and you defeated them, and you asked them to vacate this colony. This was the crisis of success. You wanted to become successful. The another idea was the crisis of failure. What was that crisis of failure that has been advanced by Muhammad Ali Jinnah? Muhammad Ali Jinnah was he had created a skepticism or fear among the minority communities of this subcontinent, that if tomorrow India would be independent, in this independent India, Muslims would be in minority, and these Muslims these Muslims would be dominated by Hindu community. So we need a separate homeland for the Muslims. And he had given the argument that there are civilizational differences, there are distinct identities, they are distinct in faith, they are distinct in their behavior, in language, in eating habits, in wearing habits. So there are two nations in this subcontinent. One was a Hindu nation, and one is a Muslim nation. The Muslim nation is Pakistan, and the Hindu nation is Hindustan. So he had advanced the two nation theory, because he had crisis of failure, that being in India, the Muslims' interest would not be protected, and he asked for the separate homeland of the Muslim. That notion of nation that of Pakistan was based on exclusive notion of nation, means that he had advanced the idea that there would be Muslim homeland, means there are Muslims and no other community would be there. So he tried to develop a nation based on Islamic nationalism, on Islamic ethos and values, and that created Pakistan. That created the differences in this region, that India is a Hindu India and Pakistan is a Muslim Pakistan. And this discourse had been dominating in this subcontinent for last 70 years, that Pakistan, whatever the Pakistan is doing, it is basically that Muslim Pakistan protecting the ideas, interest of the Muslims Muslims, and whatever the India is doing, that is Hindu India, that has been constructed by the ruling elites of Pakistan. However, I'll also bring to your kind submission that this creation of Pakistan, this two-nation theory was opposed by different corners of the Muslim community itself. Particularly, if you will say, Devbandis, they were never in favor of partisans. They said you cannot confine Muslims into a territory. The Devbandis, they moreover believed in the pan-Islamism. They never wanted to have a separate homeland. Even Barelvis had also not been supporting the creation of Pakistan or creation of a separate homeland for the Muslims. If you will see the leaders of this subcontinent, particularly Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad had also said that by dividing Muslims into two states will weaken the Muslims in this subcontinent. And later on, you know, that Muslims had been divided into three states, and that further weakened the Muslims' position in this subcontinent. You can also see that there were a large number of Muslims who never supported the two-nation theory. They never decided to go Pakistan, and they decided that our nation is India. They are still living in India. Now you can see that the notion of nation, that is India, is based on unity in diversity, that is based on inclusive ethos. And since we have the crisis of success, we wanted to become successful. We wanted to have a state India that would be home for all creeds, all religious, ethnic, communal, all ethnic, lingual, all the peoples would constitute states. And you know that you cannot, even Indian National Congress did not support this idea of two-nation theory, and the constructs that what Jinnah was talking, that Muslim majoritarian state would constitute a state, that is Pakistan. Kashmir being a Muslim majority state, at that time it has been given an option to the princely states that either they can join Pakistan or they can join India, or they can remain independent. The king of Kashmir had decided to join India. And that was a clear-cut indication that the two-nation theory is not accepted by Kashmiri and the Kashmiri people that time, and that being Kashmir part of India, had the idea and the notion of nation was complete, because without Kashmir the notion of nation, that is India, is incomplete. So because India believes in the inclusive ethos, and India doesn't believe in what Jinnah was trying to have, an exclusive notion of nation, that is Muslim majoritarian states. However, that in the minds of Pakistan, they have been constructive. They had been influenced by different theories that the Muslim majoritarian regions should come with Pakistan, and they have linked the Kashmir with the identity of Pakistan, that without Kashmir the idea of Pakistan is incomplete, because they talks about the Muslim majority area would go. So they are still till date, particularly the military or deep states of Pakistan, they are mobilizing the discourse in Pakistan that the Kashmir is part of Pakistan. They are doing, and we will take Pakistan. It is the military who can get liberated Kashmir. That kind of the objectives or illusions had been created in Pakistan by deep state, that military and ISI, and they are for their ruling objectives. They know that Pakistan is an integral part of India. It cannot be they cannot be part of Pakistan, but to rule Pakistan, and to suppress the voices of people of Pakistan. They are using either Islam or religion or Kashmir or terrorism kinds of instruments, and that has impacted the bilateral relations between India and Pakistan over and you see that the two countries could not come closer, being part of common ecological organic system, being part of common civilizations, that being everything as regionness. The South Asia is least integrated region in the world. I'm not going much into detail, but I wanted to submit that the identity issue between India and Pakistan had been dominating the discourse or relationship between the two countries. The Kashmir had also been linked with the identity of the two countries, and that could not be resolved for last 70 years. Though our Indian government is taking measures to have an inclusive notions and ethos, to include and take the Kashmiri people into the mainstream of India. That particularly you can see the recent past, how that the Indian government had been trying to internalize the issues. Now let me come with another submissions. I'll not go much into detail. There were different contentions. Last point I would submit here. Then that would give you a very good understanding about that how I'm looking at making a foreign policy towards India. What are the constructs? If you are taking Pakistan, Bangladesh, India relations, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India Pakistan relations, India Bangladesh relations, India Nepal relations, and India Sri Lanka relations, all that I'll try to highlight by this table. I think you can understand better. Basically, in my understanding, being in Bangladesh for 1 year, being regularly traveling and staying in Nepal and Sri Lanka and other South Asian countries, I had gathered an impression, and I had come out with these submissions for your kind consideration. That basically in these there are three significant sections and streams of thought and school of thoughts in the neighboring countries, and that determines the discourse, that determines the relations between India and the neighboring countries. One is that one school is the liberal school. That this liberal school, basically they believe in civilizational linkages, historical legacies. They believe in common socio-cultural affinities, and also believe in the principles of democracy, secularism, and social justice, and all that. Basically, if you will see, these people are progressive, they are democratic, they are secular, tolerant, and society-centric. Believe in coexistence and mutual benefits. This kind of thinking, the schools of thought, that sections of the people in neighboring countries, they believe that we should have better relations with India. We should have, because we are brothers. They still believes in the old classes. They still believe that we had been part of common civilizations, so we should live together, we should work together, we should develop together, we should prosper together, and we should resolve all the problems. Because so they are, these liberals, the progressive people, they feel that India and Pakistani or India or Bangladeshis, they are brothers, they are part of common culture. So these peoples, they whenever this is one sections that think, either you take in Bangladesh, you take in Pakistan, you take in Nepal today, also in Sri Lanka as well. There are another school of thought and another streams of thought, that is the radical stream of thought in these countries. They are basically, they believe in religious affinities. They are having parochial class interest. They believe in unilateral trade, or I would say that these people, these conservative radical people, they are religiocentric people. They construct different exclusive ideas. They have the sense of they have the crisis of failure in their mind. They believe in ideological dogmatism, or they believe in fundamentalism, and they look that this is Hindu India, this is Muslim Bangladesh, this is Hindu India, this is Muslim Pakistan. That kind of constructs they believe, and they advance these ideas and approaches or perspective among the people for their ruling for the objectives. They are chauvinist and risk avenger, believe in regime interest and unilateral benefits, that whatever that if they can remain in power, they can use these kinds of radical constructs that Muslim or Hindu they can divide. So this is the another section in these countries. The third school of thought and the stream is the realist. Basically, I would say that these realists are moreover a young generation, that they don't want to carry the baggages of partisan. They don't want to go much on the historical traits what had been. They do not think about the whatever that civilizational affinities or legacies they were carrying. They moreover believe in geopolitical interest of that particular country or geoeconomic potentials of that particular, or they have the geostrategic calculations in their minds about that country, these young generations. Or I would say they are power maximizer, they are rational, they are coalition builder, they are profit makers and believe in fair and equity. They are or seeks and risk taker. Basically, they believe in peaceful coexistence, mutual benefits based on rational interests. They are looking that moreover that we should be respected by each other on the principles of sovereignty, on the principles of coexistence. There should not be any kind of threats and any kind of constructs that this is the small country, these are the regional powers kind of thing. They are basically profit maximizing, and they believe that if you can gain something, you can have better business, better developmental partnership with India. Let us go and we'll have a partnership with India. We can prosper together. We can develop together. If China is opportunity, let us also go to China. These are the people, the rationalist people thinks that if China is as an opportunity for us, let us go to China. Let's entertain China. Let's bring Chinese investment and infrastructure in this region. So they do not carry any baggage at all for anything. My submission is there. Whenever these realists, the young generation supports the liberals, one type of government comes into power. You take any country of South Asia, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka. If these realists supports the liberals, the one set of governments come into power, they believe in better relations. They develop better relations. They are, you can say, having a cordial relations with India. They are, I would term them, they are pro-India in a sense that we can develop these alliances. They believe in the alliances for extracting benefits through foreign policy interactions with India. That is their approach. Whenever these realist sections in frustrations or in problems or whatever, supported by radicals, and they have alliances with the radical forces, you can see they comes into power. They distance from India and they entertain more Pakistan or China or other extra-regional powers. You can take the example of Bangladesh. Suppose whenever the Awami League into power, all the alliances, whenever all the agreements, all the developmental partnerships between India and Bangladesh takes place. You can see that all the major significant agreements, partnerships, and treaties, whatever, either on the trade sector or security sector or water areas and border areas, whenever Awami League was into power, India and Bangladesh had come together, closer, had developed, have reached on heights of the partnerships and developments. Whenever the BNP is into power, because BNP is supported by radical and conservative forces like Jamaat-e-Islam and Islamic Okyojot and all that, India and Bangladesh does not have any significant agreements. None of the agreements had been signed while the BNP and the military regimes were into power. They only cultivate radicalizations, they only cultivates the fundamentalist groups, and they only cultivates anti-Indian forces in their territory. They sometimes entertain Pakistan or ISI, or they sometimes entertain China into their territory, or promotes and supports insurgent groups of northeastern states, Ulfa and all that, were having bases in Bangladesh. So you can see that these three streams, the liberals, realists, and radicalists, they are existing in these countries, and they are, maybe there are the realists, they are having shifting tendencies towards the liberals and towards the radicals. Whenever they are in the frustrations and India doesn't bother about these countries, they support the radical forces. They falls into traps of the radical forces. But whenever there are good indications that India has developed a generosity approach, or India had adopted like policy of non-reciprocity, or you can say that India has started extending line of credit to these countries for their developments, and started taking care of these countries, believing in multilateral approach and kinds of things. These realist forces finds India as opportunity and support the liberals into power, and liberals remains in the power, and India and these countries have good relations. You take KP Oli, how the KP Oli had been doing in Nepal, and today you can say that how Devba and Nepali Congress had been. You see Rajpakse and Sirisena, how Rajpakse brothers had been doing and how they are benefiting developing, because Rajpakse also believes in Sinhala Buddhist majoritarian traits, and the Sinhala Buddhist majoritarian traits does not fit in the fit for India because of the Tamil issues. India had been very sensitive, very concerned about Tamil issues. So we do not have that much of cordial and ties with while Rajpakse into power, and they had gone closer to China. While the Sirisena was there into power, we had been there. Since Pakistan, the ISI and the army, they had alliances with the Allah or the religious forces. While there are military or Pakistan dominating in the politics of Pakistan, India and Pakistan never had good relations. But whenever their civilian governments take some space, they try to develop the dialogues, they try to develop the Aman Ki Aas, and try to have negotiations like Nawaz Sharif recently, earlier Benazir Bhutto, and there are a number of times there were attempts. But whenever the civilian governments go for these kinds of initiatives, either there are coup or there are change of guards in Pakistan, because the deep states, the states within states, is dominating the discourse in Pakistan. So I had tried to give you an idea that how the identity that constructed by the political regimes, different ruling elites in these neighboring countries, had been impacting interstate relations in South Asia. How if these parochial constructs based on anti-Indianism distance India, and whenever they construct, they find closer affinities and identity with India, they come closer to each other. So I'll stop my my lecture here. If you have any questions, anything, please let me know.
Sir, I have a question. Sir,
Okay.
is Myanmar democracy haunted democracy?
Yeah, it's a hybrid democracy. You can put Myanmar is into hybrid democracy where authoritarian tendencies are there. You can see that democracy index, World Democracy Index, that is published by Economic Intelligence Unit, and they have certain mediating values and ethos to define the criteria that which country is a hybrid democracy, which country. So you can see how much political participation is there, how much representations of different sections and groups are there, how much transparency and is in the elections, and how much responsibility the states are there. On that basis, you can say that that Myanmar's democracy had been hybrid, where it has been more authoritarian tendencies in recent past, where the military unit is dominating the discourse.
Thank you so much, sir, for this informative session. You made this topic too easy for us, and also thank you for this clean presentation. Thank you for giving us time from your busy schedule. In future, we hope you will be with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Ashish and